Hello again, welcome to the last tackle inside England. We're inside the England camp again here at Robin Park, and what a time to be inside the England camp with the men safely through their group with a 100% record into the knockout stages, and a quarter-final awaits the women up and running with a thumping win, the PGRL team world champions for the first time, and the wheelchair side waiting in the wings to start their assault on glory. Plenty to discuss therefore with Kyle Amor. Always a pleasure to see Kyle. And England forward Morgan Knowles joins us as well. Great to see you. How has the last few days been since the group was wrapped up with victory? A big win as well over Greece.
Yeah, good. Everyone got through pretty healthy and no injuries. So, we're looking good as a group. Had a good couple of days training and looking forward to this week.
We were saying on the last tackle with Kevin Brown last week, Kyle, it was almost a no-win game, wasn't it, for England? Because you were expecting a big win, and you didn't want players like Morg says to get injured. So it's just getting through it, ticking the boxes. Let's crack on.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that they got through that game is incredible, really, isn't it? You know, to get through with no injuries and to put on a big performance and a big scoreline. You know, Morg, you go into them games, don't you, where you're expected to win heavily, and if you don't, then it's questions start being asked. But the fact that you got through it and you put on a big scoreline was awesome. Did you manage to get over?
No, you know what to get over. Cheers, Carl. Got one disallowed, but no.
92 points scored and he couldn't score. Wow.
What was said at half-time of that game? The two games prior to that, Shaun Wane had come in and given you things to work on. But a game like that, what's the message at half-time?
I think you've just got to try and treat it like you're playing one of the bigger sides, Australia, New Zealand, Tonga. With your little efforts and your details and your things like that, and building those habits for when we do play those teams, and obviously we need that this week against PNG. But building those good habits and making sure we're doing that.
Sorry, Carl.
Yeah, Mark, I was just going to say, you played against Papua New Guinea in the 2017 World Cup with Wales. How do you think this PNG side is going to compare to that one, and what do you think's the biggest sort of match-up for you in terms of your team against theirs?
Well, I think probably everybody knows, and it was the same then. You know that physical, you know what you're going to get from them. So you need to match that physicality, and especially the start of the game. But they've got some weaknesses as well that we've looked at. So we'll be looking at exploiting those, and still sort of focusing on ourselves and making sure we're doing what we can do. And I think as long as we perform at our best, then we'll be all right.
I've been quite impressed with PNG. I think that game against Tonga showed, and then they backed it up with some other great performances as well. So I think in their camp they're going to be quite excited, and it's going to be a belting game. That's what I'm trying to get to. You've got England, who perhaps have come off the back of two big wins, not against sort of the top quality opposition. This is now why we're in the quarterfinals, and it's the final 8, and it's going to be full on. Now, that's a game that I really can't wait to watch.
Yeah, we'll focus more on the quarterfinal PNG in a moment, but I agree. We were just chatting before we started recording with Morgan. I was at that Tonga PNG game, and I thought they should have won it. I thought they were really, really dangerous.
They bombed a couple of opportunities.
They did, yeah, and I think all the Pacific Island nations have got better with each game. The PNG and Tonga, we've seen that improvement because they're going to arrive here a little bit undercooked because they haven't got the ready-made facilities here. Like, you boys can just roll in from a few miles away and you've got this on your doorstep. And I can tell every time I come here and see Shaun Wane, it's like he lives here. He don't want this to finish, does he?
Yeah, no, he's always around, yeah.
Let's hear from Shaun Wane. We'll focus a bit more on the PNG game in due course. But speaking of England's third group victory, it was a big win over Greece, and this is what the head coach made of it, speaking afterwards.
Shaun, a comfortable win in the end against Greece. What was the verdict on that performance?
Yeah, job done. It wasn't a pretty game, and fair play to Greece. They didn't give in. I thought right till the end it was fighting and defending as best they could. But we was on form, and I'm just glad we've had a couple of physical weeks with the players, and our players went into that game a bit sore because we've had some physical weeks. So we'll be ready for next week, no doubt.
And try-scoring debuts for Kai Pearce-Paul and Batch. Are you happy with the performances you saw from the players that you gave shirts tonight?
Yeah, we did some good things. A lot of players did a lot of good things. But we'll have to improve for next week. That's going to be a big challenge for us next week. But we can only do what play in front of today. and I thought we did a lot of good things, so I'm happy.
And you've changed your edges a lot throughout the 3 games of the group, and yet you keep turning up with big high-scoring performances. You must be really pleased with the strike you've got in the outside backs.
Yeah, we've got some challenges, but this week won't be an hard one. We're going to pick the team that can win the game. So these last few weeks have been tough, trying to get players games. But when I look forward to this one, this is sudden death. This is the 17 what will win the game, and I'll be comfortable with that.
Yeah, you finish your group stages, top of the pool. What's the kind of score report on the first 3 games?
Yeah, next week's going to be against a very good Papua New Guinea team. It's going to be a tough one, but it'll be tough for them as well.
And you are into the knockout stages now. Every game, of course, absolutely crucial. It is do or die. What's the mood like in the camp attacking these next 3 weeks?
The spirit's fantastic. The team spirit's great. I'm very happy what the lads are doing. They're living a good life and enjoying the challenge, and they've got a chance of making history, so we just need to give it our best shot.
What will your message to the players be tonight going into this next week?
Look after yourself, spend a bit of time with your family, come in Monday for work. Next week's going to be full on.
Well done, Sean.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thanks.
So that was Sean Wayne speaking to us after that big win over Greece. A word on Bramall Lane. What was that like? This World Cups are full of experiences, and that must have been another new one for everyone playing a football ground like that. How was it?
Yeah, no, it was good. It was a good stadium, and as a player, it's great to experience playing at different venues and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed it.
How did Victor Radley enjoy it? Because I'm told Sean was going to probably rest him, and then he said, I want to play because my dad's coming over and my brother's coming over, who's a big Sheffield Wednesday fan and playing at rivals Sheffield United. So he got a bit of game time. How much did he enjoy that?
Yeah, no, I think he loved it. I think he had 50 odd tickets sold for all his family and stuff in the crowd, and seen the interview with his dad. He definitely enjoyed the game, didn't he?
Yeah.
Had a couple of beers, so yeah, it was good for him.
What did he call England's head coach, Shane Warne?
I think so.
Did he? How impressed have you been then, Morgans, with Herbie Farnworth, with Victor Radley? How much have you been sort of surprised about how much they've actually bought into what's going on and here in England, with them, like playing most of their life out in Australia?
Yeah, it's good. Obviously, we've got the English-based lads, and we know what they're about. But the lads that are playing out in the NRL, to get them over and have the quality of them, like the names you mentioned, and Elliot Whitehead, and and the other lads as well. It's it gives us a lift and a slightly different perspective, and also they got some knowledge on some of the players that we're playing against that don't play in Super League. So it's good.
And have you seen it? An incremental improvement, every game, every day in training from the NRL guys who've come over. I mentioned how we're seeing that from Tonga and Samoa and PNG. Every game they play here, they're looking slicker. Are you seeing that from the boys who've flown into camp, that they're getting more used to gelling with you guys?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Obviously, the further we progress in the competition, more time we spend together, the better the combinations and camaraderie that we have. But to be fair, I think all the lads, we've hit the ground running from when we started, and that'll continue.
And Sean talks a lot about unity. His catchphrase I hear a lot has been, big team, little me, which I've heard a lot from him and some of the players. But alongside that, you've got competition for places. You're all fighting, 24 of you for 17 places each week. So how competitive is that? How fierce is that rivalry to make sure you're in the team, especially now we're in the knockout stage?
Yeah, obviously everybody wants to be playing and be putting the best foot forward, to win, to get picked and be in that 17. But like you said, the little me, big team, and that's what you got to do. It's a full squad, and the squad's already been called upon so far for group stages, and potentially going to be called upon again if there's injuries and or squad rotation or whatever. So that's really important.
Just on that, what Morgan said there about that big team, little me, I don't think personally, and it's a privilege to be able to say this, that I don't think anyone epitomises that more in my career than this man sat here. He always puts the team before anything else. He works so hard in the game and does all the little facets of the game, and that's why he's probably been and had such a successful career in a relatively short space of time. You're only what now, Morgs? 25, 26, something like that. And you look what he's done already in the game and what he continues to do. and being regarded in Super League for many years as one of the best players in the competition. I just wondered, with all that, Morgs, what sort of role do you have in this side? Is there a leadership group amongst the England players? Is that something you aspire to?
I don't think there's a leadership group as such, but obviously, you know, you've got your senior lads that, you know, have been here a lot longer than I have, and you know, have played plenty more games and know sort of what World Cups are about. You know, but for me, you know, I just want to do my bit, you know, the small cog in the wheel, in the machine that is, you know, this England team, and you know, like I said, that's sort of what I hang my hat on, of just the effort-based areas, and, you know, try and get the respect from the boys.
Well, you're one of the very best at that, I can tell you that.
It was a fascinating bit that came out of the chat when we were sat here last week with Andy Ackers there and Kevin Brown there, about that coming in and being a team player, because you guys are used to starting every week for your clubs and being stars for your clubs, and you've come into this environment where you're going to have to spend, you know, you've been on the bench a couple of times, you may find yourself there at the weekend. It's completely different, and, you know, Andy Ackers was saying, you know, he's had to completely adjust his game, because he's started and been the best player every week for Salford, and suddenly it's like, I'll be here when I'm called upon.
But just on that, you know, he mentioned Morgan about being on the bench, Andy Ackers getting his shot. Well, what a shot in the arm that is, because this England team has got a very good chance of winning this World Cup. And, you know, Morgan was playing, I mentioned that he was playing in the World Cup with Wales 4 years ago, and that's no disrespect to Wales. But obviously he's got a real opportunity now to be a part of this, you know, this World Cup winning side for however many years it hasn't been done. So, you know, I think that's just a massive, massive step in this guy's career, isn't it? You know, you must be really proud to being amongst all this quality in this great facility you've got here in England, for sure.
Yeah, you know, it's the absolute pinnacle, you know, playing for England and the home World Cup. You know, I'm just, whatever role or whatever I can do to help this team, you know, I want to be part of, you know, that group that goes on and wins a World Cup.
As a big forward yourself, Carl, how good do you think this pack is? Something came up on my social media, I think it was Facebook memories or something the other week, from the 2013 World Cup, the last time it was here, and I was either talking about something on the radio or writing, saying I felt this is England's, this is the best pack I've ever seen from England. This was 2013. How do you think we're equipped now up front?
Look, I'll be honest, coming into the tournament, I think I even said that I thought, I was concerned that this England side were just a bit too small, you know. Right. But in terms of what they've shown already, they just look like they're all really enjoying it. And for me, it's the way that at the moment, the biggest shining light for me has been the way that George Williams has played, Jack Welsby's played, the role Sam Tompkins has been able to do off the back of those guys. And the guys in the middle, they're just really just ripping in, working hard and giving them a platform to play off. If these guys don't do that, then Williams ain't going to, he's not really going to run, he's not really going to, Jack Welsby doesn't find them passes because he's not in the right field position. So this pack's been incredible, but, you know, I really do think that you know, there's bigger tests coming now, isn't there? The physicality, Morgs, it steps up a level from now on in, doesn't it, really? Yeah. And we'll get to see over the next coming weeks, but, you know, I'll happily change my mind around what I thought at the start of the tournament, because the evidence I've seen so far is that this England side look like they've really got the bit between the teeth at the minute. It's exciting to watch as well.
It's been brilliant to watch. Let's focus a bit more on the upcoming test. We hope it's going to be 3 weeks rather than 1, but it starts with Papua New Guinea. We've touched on it already. What do you perceive as their dangers, and what have you been, without giving secrets away, what have you been working on this week in camp?
Well, we know it's going to be a physical game. You know, the way that, you know, they've always played. You know, passionate and you know, they're tough blokes. And then we've seen, you know, the 9 that he's been really good getting off the back of that, offloads, play a bit off the cuff. But you know, there's things that we've seen in their game that we think we can exploit, and you know, we're really happy with you know, game plan going into it, and we're looking to put a good job on.
On that number 9, you've covered a lot of Championship Rugby League. You'll have seen Edwin Apapa blowing the competition away in the Betfred Championship. He is someone who could really cause England problems. Yeah,
for sure. You know, he was the player of the year of the competition, wasn't he, in the Championship? And Liam managed to tie him down as well, which is a huge coup for them, because, you know, off the back of what he did in the Championship, and now he's doing it on the world stage, you know, I think there would have been perhaps another couple of other clubs who would have came in for him. But just on that Papua New Guinea side, that you know, Pape almost portrays everything about them, doesn't he? They ain't going to go away, you know, from minute 1 to minute 80. You know, we've both played against them before in the past. Carry number 1 is the same as carry number 90. You know, they really do rip in, but I think obviously this England side, for me, they're just going to have too much brains around it. They're going to meet that physicality and then just pull them apart, you know, through them quality players that we mentioned earlier.
Where do you think England can get them? You know, traditionally we look at the island teams like PNG and we say discipline, perhaps, and organisation are areas that England could exploit.
Well, I think, like I say, I think it's just the patience of staying in that grind. But then I just think England's ability and class will show through. They'll pick them off at the right parts, and you know, I imagine a lot of tries will be scored out wide just because of pure numbers. And you know, when you play against Papua New Guinea, you can't really. Obviously, this side will go into it and meet the challenge physically head on. But I remember my time with Ireland, because we didn't have that sort of physicality about us. We knew we just had to try and play on them. Do you know what I mean? And that you can expose them, but. You know, I just think this England side got too much class for them for sure.
Does it feel any different? Perhaps a difficult question because we're only midway through the week, but it's do or die now. Whereas before, you know you're in a group stage and you've got, you know, whatever happens this week, come on, we'll have a review and move on to the next one. That's not the case now. It's turn up or go home.
Yeah, you know, and that's where we're at in the minute now, innit? You know, and hopefully we've got 3 weeks of that, you know, getting to the final, and obviously we'll worry about this week first, but you know, it's definitely just sort of tuned up a little bit, and we know the position that we're in.
Is it important to recognise that though? Because I remember, you know, when Jammer came over to us at the back end of, was it 2020? Was it? Yeah. 2020. And he spoke about in meetings about you have to recognise and almost accept that you maybe go behind in a big game. Do you know what I mean? And it almost creates a bit of a different mindset. Has anything ever been spoken about how things may not go to plan? It is a knockout game. If it was to happen this weekend... Which is
something England haven't experienced yet.
Exactly. But if it was to happen this weekend, it would be a travesty, wouldn't it, for the competition, you know, for England to be exited out in the quarter-final. Is that something that ever gets sort of spoken around the potential of going behind in a game and then what's needed?
Yeah, obviously, you know, it's not going to be perfect at the weekend. You know, it's hard to get a perfect game, and things will go wrong. But it's how we react to that, and you know, we've got a good group that you know can dig in and are tough, and are not going to be too phased by tough periods, because there will be tough periods in the game. They'll definitely be on top at times, but you know, we're happy with what we're going to do, and we'll ride out those tough periods.
England's quarter-final against PNG is here. Well, not here in here, but just over the road. Wigan Stoke, big quiet game in here, wouldn't it? As part of a double-header on Saturday with the women playing as well. England's women are up and running after a thumping victory in their opening game against Brazil. And player of the match of that one was the brilliant Courtney Wingfield-Hill.
Courtney, player of the match performance on your first game of the World Cup. You must be pretty pleased both individually and with the team performance today.
Yes, like anything, isn't it? It's nice to get our campaign underway with a win, and being able to contribute in whatever way, whether that's tries or simply directing the girls around. It's about performance. We got things to tidy up, but very enjoyable.
In terms of a start to the tournament, is the kind of professionalism of that performance perhaps the most pleasing part?
We talk about professionalism, and I think the way we went about getting to this point today has been incredibly professional. You know, there's probably bits we need to tidy up out there, and we'll continue to fine-tune, but tournaments aren't won in round one. We just got to keep reminding ourselves of that.
Yeah, obviously a different dynamic for you guys compared to your domestic clubs in tournament football. You'll go back into camp now and have a few good training sessions to work on things. Are you looking forward to the week ahead and the opportunity to put some things right?
Definitely. And that's a special thing, isn't it? We've got girls from multiple different clubs connecting via this England badge, and we're doing that really well. And we'll go back together and, time together on pitch and off pitch, connecting us each as people, and that's going to come through the end of the tournament, hopefully.
And it was an opportunity that you probably thought you wouldn't get or would never get.
Yeah.
What was it like walking out to play for England at the World Cup?
Really, really special. An adventure, I don't say journey, an adventure never thought I'd be playing rugby league in a World Cup, that's for sure, but here we are, and I'll soak it up while we're here.
So the foundation set now for the rest of the tournament?
Yeah, something to build from, definitely. And that's what we just got to keep thinking, is it's a continual build all the way through the tournament.
Well done. Enjoy tonight.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, perfect start for England, and stuff to work on as well. They did bomb a few chances, so I know they'll have a busy week in training. But a 72-4 victory, Kyle. Again, going back to the game against Greece, it was kind of no win. You knew it was going to be a big game. It was only Brazil's third game ever. But in terms of the platform that the England women's team were looking to lay for a successful tournament, they got it just right.
Yeah, perfect. You know, you mentioned there Courtney Winfield-Hill, player of the match, and Amy Hardcastle popping up for her hat-trick, I think it was as well. So, you know, all the important players in that team have certainly hit the ground running. But it's just great to see a big crowd there. You know, the women's game is on the way up. You know, there's been an awful lot of good exposure for them over the last couple of years. So it's just terrific to see Brazil, of course, being in it. You know, that's another historic
story.
Historical
World Cup
moment.
full of stories.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, look, you've got the men's, women's, and the wheelchair kicking off as well on Thursday. The PDRL side, of course, they played their part in delivering, haven't they? So it's down to the rest of these guys now, and just a big win for them will certainly help them for sure. And
do you sense that, as obviously you're in camp here, but you know, it's not just the men's team this year, and that's what the organisers have been pushing out about the inclusivity and the platform for creating a legacy, both hopefully we think success for the men's team, but also what Carl said, the PDRL team have already won it. The women's team, perfect start, although it's going to get harder with Australia and New Zealand being such big favourites, and the wheelchair game as well, which is absolutely brilliant. There's a real opportunity here. Do you sense that as part of this camp here?
Yeah, and obviously our main focus is, you know, worrying about ourselves and doing our job and our bit. But obviously seeing the women get off to a good start and the PDRL doing what they've done, you know, it's bigger than you know, just us, and you know, it's great for the whole of the World Cup and the game in a whole.
But we're seeing that right across the game, aren't we, Morgs? You know, more clubs now are investing in women's wheelchair, PDRL. It really is an umbrella of each club, isn't it, really? And it's great to see that on the international stage too, because, you know, the common goal is to achieve right across the game, isn't it? But you know, just a terrific start for all those.
You know, parity in payment for this competition for the women's players as well. And we saw the story this week. Leeds Rhinos are going to be given financial incentive next year. It's not only is it heading in the right direction, it's doing so quite quick. You've been involved a lot over the past couple of years in the women's game. It's, you know, it's not just a small improvement. This is flying into people's consciousness.
Yeah, it's a start, isn't it? And the Leeds Rhinos club, I think they're going to operate on it in terms of a performance-based payment. You know, if they finish top of the league, they'll get X amount of money.
Bonuses,
so it's a start. Look, you know, 3 years ago there was zero funding there for any of them. Now some of the girls they're able to claim the sort of travel, they're able to claim their expenses, and it's just good, isn't it? You know, it's great to see them getting a little bit of recognition and reward for the hard efforts that they do for the game.
And we saw their opening game as, you know, part of a one-off occasion at Headingley. It's going to be back to the double headers, which I know you've commentated a lot of alongside the men's. Is that something that is important, or do we think we want to see more single standout?
I think initially it is important, you know, because there's going to be large crowds attending those games, more eyes are therefore on it, more exposure, more growth, more development. So I think it is for now at the moment. It's they've got it pretty right for me.
A word on the wheelchair. Have you ever seen the wheelchair team play?
I've not seen a full game. I've seen bits of highlights.
Absolutely sensational. You would love. As a guy who likes hurting people, you would absolutely love it. I know you've commented on it. Yeah. How good is it?
No, it's great. You know, it's fantastic. It is rugby league in a wheelchair. You know, the rules are 98% of what would be in the running game, and for me, it's there's on average about 15 tries a game scored. So in terms of commentating on it, it's an easy sell, you know, because it's just end to end, and
you need a long notepad if you're keeping track of the score.
Yeah, no, you do. Yeah, but you mentioned the brutality is full on for those guys, and it's just incredible to see. And there's so many great stories in there around brothers and sons and fathers being able to play that game, because, you know, I think right at this club here, Declan Roberts, Phil Roberts, his dad was coached Declan from his chair while he played the running game, and they were never able to play together up until now, and it's just a great story to be involved with, really.
And England have a chance. England have a great chance.
They have a really good chance. You know, there's them in France who are number 1 and 2 in the world, and everybody's expecting that to be the final. And you know, it kicks off on Thursday. England, Australia, Ireland, and Spain as well. So I'll be looking forward to heading down to London and doing that one.
Let's bring it back just finally to the men's quarter-final lineup. We've been building up to England PNG here in Wigan on Saturday. It starts, Kyle, Friday night with Australia against Lebanon.
You should have been Ireland. Should have been Ireland.
Well, you were very animated about Ireland's shortcomings in this tournament.
I was just disappointed, really. I felt that, that side on paper, Morgs, I don't know if you take much interest in the other teams in the competition, but that side on paper for me should have been in a quarter-final. It had enough experience in there and not enough experience in there, but it had enough quality in there for sure. And, with Kiri there and all, you just felt that they had a real good chance.
I was really interested to watch how passionate and angry at times you got about that, because I looked at it on the face of it and thought, well, that's Lebanon and Australia. I mean, I predicted that would be the two.
Right. Well, you were right.
But I'm not as involved as you are. I was surprised by how annoyed you were.
There was in that performance there was a lot of uncharacteristic things coming from players, and I felt that they were misguided. I felt they were misguided from the coaching staff really around that. I thought there was an article released a couple of days earlier about a game that happened 15 years ago in Dewsbury that the coach played in, and he maybe carried his emotion from that experience 15 years ago and wound a lot of the players up. And from speaking to some of those players now after their campaigns finished, that certainly was the case.
Right.
So I just felt that it didn't need that and it didn't warrant that. There was a process you have to go about in big games, and yes, you have to have emotion, but you have to have smarts and calmness in there. And I thought Lebanon just, one coach picked and pulled the team apart, and the other one went for that sort of carnage head-on approach, and they fell massively short. It was just disappointing, really.
So it is Australia against Lebanon, then England, PNG, New Zealand, Fiji is the other game Saturday, and then arguably looking at it Sunday in Warrington, the game of the tournament so far, Tonga, Samoa. I mean, hopefully England get through and can sit and watch that, and hopefully watch them bash each other up and see who you're going to play. But that could be an absolute belter, couldn't it, that one? Yeah,
it's all teed up to be a great game, isn't it? Obviously two physical teams, and both what they bring to the competition, it's going to be a real good game. For us, hopefully they do leather each other and feeling a bit sore for a week after.
Morgs, if you could get through to the World Cup final, do you have a preference of who you play? If you were to get to the World Cup final, and literally, for me, you'd want to beat Australia, right? If you were going to win a World Cup, you'd want to beat Australia in a final, wouldn't you? Who's your go-to?
He's going to say Ireland.
Yeah, probably. They're obviously favourites, and the number one team for all the years gone by. So if you were going to go and win it, you've got to be the best, haven't you? Yeah. So. That probably will be the case.
I tell you what's interesting as well. A lot's been made around England, Australia, Samoa, Tonga, but New Zealand are just slipping under the radar, aren't they? They've got some quality players in there. Nobody's really even mentioned them yet, have they?
Well, they made quite a few errors. Was it the Ireland game? Did you make?
They did. No, they
made quite a few errors.
They still scored 50 odd points. They should have perhaps scored 70, but. They even them as a playing group bemoaned it afterwards, didn't they? Around their attack not being white hot as such, but
they won't mind going under the radar though, trust me. I don't think they're under the radar, but they're not right at the top of the radar. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up. Best of luck for the rest of the week. Morgan, thanks for joining us, and even bigger luck for the weekend. Carl, always great to see you, mate. And I haven't even mentioned your testimonial.
Yes.
So congratulations on the reward of a testimonial.
Yeah, no, cheers. Get supporting it.
Very well deserved. Morgan Knowles, Kyle Amor, and thank you to you for watching. Get supporting the team. It's quarter-final weekend in the men's draw, with England back here on Saturday to play PNG.